Hello, thank you for giving me an opportunity today to come in and talk to you a little bit about some behaviors that we've pinpointed in regards to um, internal audits, quality of work, and the importance of ensuring that we have good quality of work. So, credit unions are under extreme scrutiny from regulators for various compliance requirements, industry best practices, internal controls, and risk management practices. Every year, we undergo an examination where they come in and they look at all of those various things to determine how well we are completing our work and following the rules and regulations, internal policies, and procedures that are in place to ensure that we are operating in a safe and sound way. So, uh, recently, we have an internal audit and compliance department who conduct various audits that then lead into the examination. It's really to be proactive to ensure that we are identifying any weaknesses prior to the regulators coming in to conduct our exam. So what we had noticed is some reoccurring issues in specific audits, such as new account opening, that could result in exam issues for us if we are not correcting them appropriately ahead of time. And so as a result of that, we went through, pinpointed some behaviors that we had observed that could be leading to the material weaknesses, minor errors, all the way to compliance errors, not verifying information provided or documentation when opening accounts. And so our uh, pinpointed behaviors that we conducted the picnic analysis on include employees not utilizing resources that are available to them when they're unsure of how to conduct a process or procedure or open an account. Consequences of that, right, is leading to errors in opening the account process that could also result in an audit finding or an exam finding. Those tend to be negative impacts, but they're future and uncertain. Another one is browsing the internet or social media, kind of trying to avoid that work that is piled up there that may create some stress or anxiety for them as they're working through that. Um, the consequence of browsing the internet or doing other non-work related things is really that personal satisfaction piece, right? That can be viewed as positive, immediate, and most of the time certain, right? Same thing with chatting in the break room or spending time doing things outside of work related, hanging out in the break room, spending extra break times, things like that. Again, personal satisfaction is a consequence that's usually positive for the employee, it's immediate, and it's pretty certain. The other behavior that we identified was not properly verifying information that is provided by the potential members for the account opening process. This consequence is errors in account opening that could lead to audit and exam findings. Those consequences are negative, but they're usually identified in the future and it's uncertain, right? So it's uncertain that every time they're not doing that, it's going to be a negative thing. So some intervention strategies that we talked through was, first of all, reviewing training documents that are and resources that are available to employees to determine if there's ways that we can make their job easier, or is there a way we can create efficiencies to make the account opening process a little bit more efficient, quicker, easier to understand, maybe some at your fingertips documents that would be easier. The second thing was identifying reinforcers. The thing about the reinforcers is that they need to be individual for each employee, right? So you can't apply the same reinforcement for all employees because each of them have their own individual things that really make them tick and encourage and reinforce them to uh, exhibit the behaviors that we are desiring from them. And then the next one is implement the intervention strategies. So using that positive reinforcement to create behavior change that would result in the quality of work and reduced errors. So through the picnic analysis, we identified that MSRs or member service representatives often participate in behaviors that are personally more enjoyable for them instead of the behaviors that are more conducive of consistent and accurate work. So despite the implementation of earlier in the year of audit finding guidelines, which really was a punishment and penalty, it had that progressive discipline tied to it. So employees, if they had over a certain number of um, audit findings in a month, and then a rolling 12-month period, they would have progressive discipline. So it would start with, just a conversation to document training, and it would move into formal verbal warning, and then a written warning, and ultimately it could lead to termination of the employee. So there's a couple graphs here. This first one shows our audit findings from our internal audit perspective before when we were using that penalty and punishment type of reinforcer. You can see January through June, we had a peak of 15 audit findings in March. Ideally, we would have 5 or less total audit findings in a 1-month audit. But with that punishment and penalty, again, they ranged anywhere from 12. We did have a dip down in May where there were only 3, but then in June that jumped back up to 12 findings again. And then we made the switch from that punishment and penalty to more of that positive reinforcement, right? So that positive reinforcement could include a simple thank you for leaders throughout the organization who observed the employees exhibiting the desired behavior. So we walk by, see you reading or reviewing the account opening guidelines, right? Or completing a checklist before you finalize the account opening process, just to verify that you have completed all of the required tasks. It could be a treat of, a candy bar or something that the employee had specifically identified that they like. Another thing we did was even for the internal audit employees, right? So when they're the ones conducting that monthly audit and there's minimal findings or were within our range, or there's specific employees who didn't have any audit findings or any errors noted that month, they would provide a treat or a shout out through our internal web page, right, where other employees could see that they were being recognized for completing accurate work, quality work. So overall, as you could see from the graphs that we talked through, the number of audit findings did decrease with the implementation of that positive reinforcement model. And so we had a peak in October of 5 audit findings, which is within our risk tolerance and appetite, but in August there were only 2. And so we haven't really seen anything above that 5 since moving to that positive reinforcement process. And so that really just, reiterates to us that that is a more effective way to actually create behavior change in the employees and have results in the behaviors that we want them to exhibit, which ultimately will lead to better work overall, a better experience for the members, and reduced exam findings and errors noted. Thank you so much for allowing me time to be here today. I do appreciate you guys, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.